So jumped up to a section of the Bolton Canal. It's in pretty good nick. I'm just getting to the twilight now. Yeah, it's the twilight of the day, but this is in really good condition. We're just down at the bottom end of the Bolton line, the Bolton arm, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just gonna walk on now, as I said, and get some facts. This is the best example you will find of this canal anywhere. Taking my glasses off briefly. I finally arrived in Bolton. This is the Bolton arm now. Manchester UK brief video at the time. This playlist that you'll see of me as I'm walking down, it's a Friday night, but I'm still going to carry on. You notice teenagers in the area. Do you notice you have a gimbal and filming and you think, oh, vlogs and stuff? You start raising the voices. What I really want to see is down there's obviously an aqueduct under the canal at this point. You can see the trees. And the River Crow is much higher up than the Irwell is on the Berry arm. Drops all the way down there, look. And then back. So I was just saying, time to get those facts that we were talking about as the twilight's coming on us, and just, it's very relaxing. It's in very good condition, this section. I explained the history of things. I tried to set it in the era, like the 1800s. But this is a special, because I've never done the Bolton arm before. Everything else about the canal will be in the next playlist down, everything. So I've decided to make this a heritage and what happened in the past special. So today I'm going to explain, because I used to be into like rambling, that is walking, but I used to walk quite a lot and end up walking on canals and looking at things in the middle of nowhere. Just going to spin the camera around and interrupt the silence. So this is what it should look like, unlike the Berry section. And how nice it can be if it just looks after. That's how it looks. That's an example of how it looks and how deep it is. And how deep it is when it's not got any water. Pops off at the end now. But unfortunately, it isn't looked after. A lovely sunset and a lovely evening to just get some shots. And that's what led me to realise there's so much stuff from the Industrial Revolution that's just unexplained, just lying around. I decided to start filming it. So there you go, there's another artefact of the Industrial Revolution in its glorious form. Not. We really are embarrassing the way we don't look after things. So although the Romans thought of roads 2,000 years ago, we went through endeavours of canals and trains and all the rest of it, and ended up covering everything in roads again. So all this beautiful countryside. So the devastation we see, and the world that I grew up in and we live in, is basically because of roads.
The
roads have gone everywhere. So we saw the bridge, they were trying to blow up the bridge. So we saw, and the bridge, they were trying to blow up the bridge. It's walking towards Mount Zion, and it's walking towards Mount Zion, and there's a lot to see along the rivers down there, River Irwell. Canal's 50 metres up the hill. We're about to get to it, but we, like I say, I filmed that. I filmed Zion steam crane, knob end locks, for example. I'm not going to say in 1800s this was da 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 da. I'm going to explain, well, why it's not even in the way of anything, so why it's disused and not made into a heritage site, a modern bridge. I'm just going to interrupt the programming so you can get a load of me. Manchester, UK. 3 videos at a time, Stephen Goddard, as you know. We're getting towards the end of the Bolton and Bury Canal. Just a flat section at the top. You see how nice and wide and grand it looks there? So it's just, I have commented, so in the next playlist you'll see how it's very much like the Bridgewater Canal. It's level all the way, it's very grand design, it's very wide. It's a wide gauge because it was going to hook up once to the Rochdale Canal and the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. That was its expectations. It was going to be a narrow canal, which is just thinner basically. But you can see that's the original overflow down into the River Crowle down there. It comes out. You should see down here is a place where you could put planks of wood, you see, into the sides. There'll be a slat over there, and it's actually thinner. And then you can drain the canal. There'll be an outlet along here. At some point, may have been filled in now. And that goes down that drain without emptying the whole thing. Now if someone would have put a plank in there on the day of the dam breach, could have saved a lot of money, time and effort, but apparently the whole thing emptied. The dam breach is also in playlist, and you're going to see knob end locks, but obviously that's right at the end of this playlist. I've also said it's Prester Lee locks, and I'm going to start calling it Prester Lee locks because Knob End Hall is just round this corner, and that is obviously what it's named after. So let's carry on a little bit and just film it. Oh, we've got the twilight. But what we did, we abandoned all the brilliant structures for steel. So we got modern, strong materials. Back in the day we had skills, and that's why that bridge is so strong. And like I say, I think the black brick is stronger than your average brick, and that's why number 10 Downing Street's made out of it. And if you look at that bridge, it was made of black brick, and it survived the blast. It basically didn't move it at all. So it does back up what I'm saying. So the Houses of Parliament, I mean number 10 Downing Street, is blast proof. And remember, there was a gunpowder plot, you know, a long time ago, Guy Fawkes. And it's like the people in the 70s didn't realise how much skill and engineering had actually gone into that. They thought it'd just blow up because it was old.
There was one near me at Dalslever, and they actually blew the thing up. And they had a tough time doing it. The thing is, it gave me an insight into how the thing was constructed. I mean, when we were quite small boys, they called it the wooden bottoms because they were actually lined with timber in the bottom, and you couldn't sink in the mud when you went swimming in it in the summer. When they chiselled it apart to blow the arches up, they came across these unbelievable pieces of timber, great blocks of wood about 2 foot square and about 90 feet long, and all completely encased in clay. You know, and when they uncovered it, they were almost like brand new wood. You know, it's incredible, really, when you think, you know, 17 odds, and they were taking canals across the tops of great rivers like this down below.
Anyway. Incidentally, that wasn't in the way of anything really. They could have cut other ways than to. If you see the site, they got grants off the government to rebuild the country after the Second World War, and they just went to town basically.
Bridgewater Canal from Worsley to Manchester. Brindley had to find a way of getting it over the River Irwell at Bolton. And here he came up with another ingenious solution to the problems of canal engineering. His Bolton aqueduct, which carried bolts 40 feet above the river, was so amazing in its time that it was considered one of the wonders of the world. There's not much of it left now, but I can show you what it would have been like, because there's another one over the Irwell not very far away. This one wasn't actually built by Brindley, but it must have been inspired by his innovation.
Yeah, so all those beautiful bridges lost, all that beautiful heritage gone. The wharf in Bolton underneath a new housing project. There is a tunnel down there, but if you are interested anymore in the Bury Bolton Canal, the Bury Bolton arm of the Manchester Bolton and Bury Company's canal, there's plenty. You can. I'd go to Wikipedia. That's where you'd start. But just search Bolton history on YouTube. You know, if you're interested in it. I can't film everything because it's not here, and that's really unfortunate for me. But I can give you an example and a taste of what it was like. And as I said, this edition is intended to be a heritage and, you know, our natural environment, how we don't really appreciate it and how things could look if we tried like this. Just this little area should definitely be a World Heritage Site because it gives you a flavour of how it should look. It gives you examples of the engineering, and as we see, that stone is much stronger than, you know, you might not give it credit, but it's still waterproof and it's still here. It's just the Bury section hasn't been looked after very well. As we go around the corner, we get to Preston Locks. Now they come up from the Salford Canal, the Salford Arm, where we came from, the first video of this. It'll be the video before this. It may be two, because it'll carry on a lot longer than that, but it'll be the video that's previous to this one. And you cabin on. We're here to film it, like I said. Yeah, the Preston Aqueduct is in the video previous, and it's in my other playlist. I'm not going to film it again tonight because we're not going to have time. And it encourages you to search more about it and to look at my other playlist. So that's Knob End, but it was actually Knob End Hall. So it's on the other side of the canal, you see. You can see why it's on the end of the brow of a hill. And it's, you know, I can see why that would be called Knob End back in the day. But this is Preston Riser Locks. It's a set of 3 locks. And these old cottages are traditional. I think even this old barn here. The Members Society is somewhere along here, and there's also a boat that's sunk. But anywhere else in this country, if there's any history, whether it's Cornwall, Wales, Yorkshire, Scotland, all over the place, it tends to look after it. But the Northwest has a culture of, you know, wreck it to build something new. That's out of fashion, build something new. A picturesque way to enter a village. We don't realise when something should have stayed. It was, you know, Brindley designed and built everything around here. So the lock gates at Knob End are actually called Preston Locks. It's a riser lock system, and that would have looked originally something like this. So like I say, it's a heritage special. So we're going to get to the top of what I can find of the Bolton Canal, and we'll explain why things are missing, and a heritage and history special. Why it's a shame we don't look after our heritage. Probably the worst people I know of, like I said. So let's go over then to Bolton and start from there and walk down, and we'll go right through as though we're in a boat, and we'll go down through Knob End Locks. And I will explain it obviously, but I'm trying to encourage people to search things like Brindley for themselves, and Robert Peel, search for yourself. There's actually the Bolton area, Knob End House is on the hill. It's not Knob End Locks, it's just the area. So it's Preston Locks led up to the Bury Bolton Canal, and that's where Knob End is situated. This was 1797 this canal was built, so that's how old that wall is. wondering. So I popped up and we're going to go. It wasn't just roads that changed the world, I forgot to briefly say that. Petroleum, it was actually petrol powered. You know, we had coal, we had steam, had water power, and we'd finally reached petroleum. And the other major thing that changed the world, of course, is electricity. So, nice nautical feature in the stones were in use for the boat. I remember the old traditional cobblestones used to be moored overnight. Absolutely lovely sunset, and you'd travel as the day was ending with your goods and your cargo, and you would finally reach Preston section. This is where the canals join, and there's a massive deep wharf. Canal Breach is also in another video. So the Bolton section obviously includes Preston Locks and the Knob End section. So on the hill is the Meccano Bridge. We'll be walking under that soon. And there was once a house down here. The lockkeeper's cottage is no longer, but it would have been situated just about there. Over the other side of that red wall is where the locks are. If you're very good up, you'll see Preston Aqueduct in the distance from the side most people never film. I've tried to get down there and film it, not tonight. So we'll go down through the wharf as though we're finishing the Bolton Canal. But this is a proper bridge, not a replacement of the old bridge. That's what it should look like. As I bring the camera down towards myself, the motorbike approaching. Here's the old stones. So we've got a bit more silence, you can hear an aeroplane. And look there, something's been uncovered already. Something to do with water. It's all filled in now, so anywhere where water would have gone through to fill the locks, like that, a sluice gate, filled in with concrete. It's basically poured concrete down in there. The only reason they haven't knocked it down is because they've not built anything else. It's just been left to go into disrepair. So there's the black brick again. And that's an iron structure. So if you were in the boat coming from Bolton, you could go to Bury, but mainly you were going down into the town centre of Manchester and the rest of the world. It's getting very tangly this week. Keep ending up in places. Anyway, I want to go and just film this wall and show you how deep. So we now enter where lots of boats would have been waiting to go down through the locks. And this is the hard core that's in the middle. And if you look at this, how fantastic this. Massive big bricks, rocks, whatever you want to call them. So I spoke about our heritage before. Our natural environment, how we don't really look after things. Literally everybody who goes past looks at you like you're the weirdest person on earth. And that's the problem around here. You should just think, he's filming the canal. It's obvious what I'm doing. Anyway, I'm not having a go at people, I'm having a go at attitudes towards our heritage. Like this Meccano Bridge, it's very cool. It shows you how simple design and engineering can be. But it's a bit of a mockery of what locks used to look like. So it's very deep here. I'll show you how deep it is, because I'm not a very tall person. Okay, I'm old, I'm 46 years old, going grey, and I'm not very tall. But I have very few insecurities. As we should have. Anyway, gives you an idea of the height. So I'm going to do this once. As your boat comes through here, this is actually not, this is it's not a heritage site, but it is a private site because it could be dangerous. Going down there. I am actually a member of a lot of canal societies. I'm a member of the Bolton Canal Society. And I don't do, you know, the charitable work like picking up the litter, but this is my way of contributing to being part of that group. So I don't see it as trespassing. I'm making a documentary. Before, you know, it deteriorates day by day. They do look after it as best they can. But I want it to sort of stay like this. So let's imagine we're going down in a boat. And I'll show you where the locks actually are and stuff. Yeah, sometimes I do natter around, but I love it. That's what it is. So your boat comes in here. That's your first lock. Basically means it's the first place where you can put your boat and then drain some water. It's a riser lock of 3 gates, so you can get down rapid in one go to the next section. So Bolton is level all the way, and now we're going into Manchester. Places that we don't really know of, well, they still exist, but Prestbury, which is like a mixture of the name Bury and Prestwich. So your boat would be in there, and there'd be a gate here across from that side there at the top to this side at the top, and a boat would be in the top bit there. And this bit can fill up. Underneath me is filled in. This would be empty, obviously, and could fill with water. So this is another section. Drop down, another gate. So you empty the water out there and your boat comes down to this level. And you can then float through here. But just think, you've got to go through 6 locks before any others can come up. So in the middle, after 3 locks, there would have been a basin or a big pool of water. So you could put 2 boats there while the other boats pass. And the reason for that is when you fill the top lock here, as you empty the water down, it will get stored in the middle. And then so you can use the same water all the way down. It says water. It also is cheaper to build than, you know, separate ones. But there's sluice gates which are buried under here in each one of these locks. So you could take water from the top if you needed it to the bottom lock, or from the 4th lock to the 5th lock. Whatever you wanted to do, there'd have been sluice gates all the way along it. You know, whatever was convenient. But what they tend to do is drop 2 boats down all the way to the middle, and then you can start bringing 2 boats up from the bottom. But you can do it at the same time, so the top section and the bottom section can run at the same time. 2 boats in the pool can come up, while 2 boats in the pool can go down. Yep, so you can get 4, you're getting 4 boats through. So that's the maths of it. There's 4 go down, 4 can come up. I'm not sure, they fill up very rapidly, but I can see why trains took over if that's the amount of time it took. But the non-perishable goods, most of the things, coal, cotton, then it's not food. So once your barge reached Manchester, as long as you send a barge out every day down towards Manchester, they'll get a delivery every day. And I think that's how it works. It didn't matter that it was a long time, as long as it was constantly flowing with cotton, which it did. So we've got the red bricks in the area and black bricks too. Let's get a shot of the big old stones and how far down we've come. Trying to do it all in one take. Like I said, I'm not going into the history because I will explain, you know, Brindley built it and it's a solution in 1797 to get the boats down. Canal mania occurred, but we're now in the pool, the basin in the middle. Well, we would have been. Yeah, so if our boat could sit here now, waiting for the next ones to come up into here, and then we can get in, because this one will be filled with water. See what I mean? So the water's being sort of recycled, which incidentally comes all the way from Bursweir through the Guyton feeder system, which is no longer in use, which is the environmental issue, which has also been featured. I'm doing some credit to Bolton today, because I don't really come here very much. So here's proof that the water could empty from one place, and then it come out through that one, and the gate's in the middle. See? It's called a sluice gate. And they lock into here, the gates, so they can't move about. So you see it's coming towards us. When you close the gates, the amount of pressure with the weight of the water is intense. I've felt it once because I was trying to pull some out of a drain on the canal. It's like a vacuum. So when you put the gate in there, you shut together like that, and the weight of the water pushing against them makes them watertight, and they push into the wall the same. So they're watertight, and there's no other engineering needed. The gates weigh, some of them, I think they were like, some of them up to 8 tons. But because they're made of wood, which is very clever, they float. So it's very easy to move them around, but they're really sturdy. How clever is that? So we don't really realise how clever the engineering is in the canals. A lot of people are narrowboat enthusiasts. I'm actually the history and engineering. A really good example of what I am actually into is the pyramids in Egypt. So I look at them and it just drives my mind crazy, thinking why and how long ago was that when they built that, and that's amazing. And it's the same with it all. When I see this, I just have to come and then I'll try and work it all out, and it is fascinating. So our boat's still travelling down, and I intend to get all the way to the bottom, and then we'll see the pool. You can already see the water. And this is another lot we're in. We drop down from the central pool. It's getting much darker, so it's really the perfect ending to all this. And like I say, I'm really sorry we didn't get more of Bolton and its wharf, but it has gone, and we'd just be searching around. This is the best example of a ruin along this canal that I can film to explain to you why it used to be brilliant and now it's not, because of things like this. You just drop in the middle. So I'm not just going to film the pool, I'll film the walls and show me at the very end of it. We do need to get the last lot. There's a guy sat on the... So all in one take from the top. Finally get into the last lock, and then we could drop down into the Salford section. So how big and heavy they are. Okay, and then we would be down there in there. And off we go. And that's where we ended from the Salford video, if you remember. So I don't need to show you anymore. In fact, I'm signing off. See you later, Manchester. Might as well go for a swim. Uncut. God, how long have I been doing this? We're walking back up now from the bottom, drying off. Right off quick. Thank goodness. Before it goes dark. And from the Meccano bridge up there, I'll just get a hand-held cam shot. You can see we just walked down through there. And this tree here, in the middle of the frame now, bottom you can see some red bricks, just that's where the old lock house used to be, lock house cottage. This tree would have probably been in its garden. I don't know how old, I don't know when it was demolished, that's a joke. But yep, the locks go down off, and over there's a mill. They say that it's named after Knob End, is that chimney, but it's not, it's what I said. It's the manor house, etc. Look, it's all still around us. Look at that wall. It's amazing really, isn't it? So that's a bad environment. That's a good environment. That's some heritage. That's a bad preservation job. You can literally taste the clean air here. So whether you do restore this canal or not, like I'm saying, my message stands. That many trees packed into that place, you have the right to come along and chop all them down and build houses here, even though the canal is no longer in use. Just listen to the wildlife. No matter, even nature couldn't ruin things as much as they did in the late 60s, 70s and 80s. That's not even necessary. They've just thrown all that in there. They've obviously knocked down some local buildings, filled it with red brick, which just completely destroyed the canal. And even worse than nature could. Nature does a fairly good job of doing this to it. Listen, you can hear the wildlife. And you can hear the wildlife, they love it. Beautiful twilight, part of the old colliery bridge, which would have been sited down there, which is also another site that's now destroyed. Lady Shore Colliery. Well, at least they've left nice green bags of nonsense everywhere. And that's an attempt to show you, if you restored the area, took the trees away and fixed the bridge up, how easy and possible it is. Now I've got one last thing to say. It's a conservation issue, as in the wildlife, but I am a realist. Progress is important. Like my parents grew up in a different world to me, their parents grew up in a different world to them. Things do change and progress. I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I didn't say, I love my smartphone, I love the YouTube channel. So I love the past, but I do realise progress is important. You could argue the River Irwell's not so far away, so the habitats would be stable. But I'm just saying, certain sections like where we just went through should be saved. And like this bridge, you could always be a dog walking past, so keep the bridge in a bit of water, feeding the ducks, and yeah, okay, redevelop. I think the Bolton Canal has finally reached its twilight years, unfortunately. Manchester, UK, brief videos of time. I'm not happy, but it is quite sad. The Industrial Revolution is flying past now, and remains are basically in the way, unfortunately. No matter how beautiful it is.